Yeah, I've seen a few battery tests, and this 13 Pro Max is getting those sort of numbers. So, but that's 10 hours running, like watching 4K video, playing games and stuff, doing frame averaging. Maybe it could go even longer.
Yes.
Hey, I'm David Addison, and welcome back to the David Addison Show, episode 7 of the David Addison Show for the iPhoneography Podcast Network group. I say welcome back. I assume you've been here before, but if not, then David. And today, my guest is Mario Tomiak, the man. After this show, not the myth. Definitely a legend, though. He will go into how long it took him to develop even longer, why he started developing even longer, the challenges that he faced, how he handled getting his app out there to you, the people, and how he feels about your response to his app even longer. So, without further ado, here is my conversation with Mario Tomiak. Enjoy. So, Mario, thank you so much for joining me on episode 7 of the David Addison Show. Myself, everyone else, we're all very excited to have you here. How's it going, dude?
Yeah, it's going good. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. You were the first guest when I started my podcast. I was like, I need to get Mario on, and here you are. So I want to get right into it, if you're happy with that.
Sure.
Just one thing. Before I hit record, you were telling me that you've almost finished the Android version of Even Longer.
No.
Is that right?
For sure not. It will not come anytime soon. Maybe in a couple of years.
But you mentioned
if all the iOS guys paid enough money to use the app. Maybe I can afford to do an Android one, but probably not.
You mentioned the Windows version, though.
Windows? What's that? Let me have a look to the window
sure
of my hotel room. Okay, yeah.
I don't know, maybe Symbian, whatever Nokia runs. I'm just teasing you, and the Android guys as well. So it's just you behind Even Longer.
Yes.
Is that right? There's no one else?
It's just me.
So you
no.
So you do everything. You don't outsource design, coding, marketing, anything
nothing,
like that.
Nothing. It's all on my own. Yeah. At
and
least
you do
until
this
now, and maybe in the future it will change. But for now, it's all on me.
Well, some might say I market your app for you.
Okay.
I don't know.
Fair enough.
I use it so often. Every picture shot with Even Longer. But me and now, like a growing list of people. But we'll get to that a little bit later on, because you do this with a full-time job as well, right? Even Longer's not your only gig.
No. I've got a full-time day job, normal job, in a big glass corporation. So I have to do a lot of things, and Even Longer is a side job. Yeah, I'm doing it on weekends and vacations, in the evenings, sometimes in a hotel room while on a business trip, like now.
I believe once when we were chatting, you were camping in a caravan, and you were working working as well. We were both on. Sorry, go on.
We were both on vacation, and in fact, it's my most creative time. Having 14 days totally disconnected from the day job, you can concentrate and try a lot, because this kind of project is very time consuming.
No, exactly, and how time consuming it is, we will find out, I'm sure, in a few minutes when you take us through every line of your code.
That's why I asked for screen sharing. Yes.
Yeah. So, what made you decide to not only develop your own app, but develop an app that that can do something no other app could do as well? Did you even know that it was possible before you started developing it?
I was not sure if it was possible to do it on an iPhone. However, I've seen this technology before, and that where it started. So I've seen the announcement of Phase One, quite expensive camera brand, in late 18. They announced that they can do long exposure without ND filters using frame averaging and delivering RAW files at the end. So I was just blown away by seeing this, all these capabilities, because I'm into long exposure for a lot of years already. And I struggled a lot. I've got a decent filter kit, worth a fortune. So I did it all. And seeing this simplification of this, achieving this kind of photographies, it was mind-blowing. And then I immediately researched, is there any app out there? Because I am into Phase One systems, so I own a Phase One myself. I'm into medium format, but the IQ4 system is way too expensive for me. For it, you cannot justify 50,000 euro for just a bag. No way. Yeah. So I thought I want to have this kind of approach. It was nice, and I researched, and nothing came close to it. No iOS app available. There were some claiming doing long exposure, but for me, a long exposure is in the area of minutes or even up to hours, not just a few seconds like other apps do. So I decided, okay, I'll try it. Yeah, I've seen results with other systems like Phase One. It's possible. So technically, it's possible. And I started to research how could I do it on iOS, because there is no app. Normally, I don't just start developing an app just to develop an app on my own. I only develop an app if there is nothing out there which satisfies my needs.
Absolutely. Makes sense. And I just want to clarify something. I said then that this is an app that can do stuff no other app can do. Now, yes, technically Lightroom Mobile can capture raw longer exposures. However, there is a big difference, and I've written them down, so I'm going to look at my notes here. It takes much longer to process in Lightroom than Even Longer does. It can only capture for 5 seconds. Mm-hmm. It's only available on newer devices, so like iPhone 7 and things like that can't do it. The motion blur effect is nowhere near as good as Even Longer's, and it can't do light trails or star trails. So I think it is accurate to say that Even Longer is indeed the first of its kind. So that Phase One, the IQ4 series of backs that you were talking about there, 50,000 plus euros and things, the technique you mentioned is frame averaging. That's yes. That's the technology behind it. So could you take me through, like, where do you even start with that? Do you know anything about frame averaging before you see this Phase One?
Yeah, that I didn't know before, but later I discovered it was possible before. So the technique of frame averaging was around for a long time already. So it's no new invention of Phase One, but they brought it into camera back.
Yeah, and outside of that, you could do it with stacking in Photoshop. Now, my stacking video didn't really illustrate just how processor intensive, how much time it actually takes to stack images and then choose the median or mean average, because it's not the fastest computer in the world. It's an M1 MacBook Pro with 16 gigabytes of RAM. I'm working with JPEG files. I'm not even working with RAW files, but you try and stack a couple hundred of these or more, and it takes like half an hour, 40 minutes. And often my Mac will crash and stuff like that. Whereas your app is just doing it like that. And I want to ask you about the efficiency in just a minute, but could you take me through, like, where do you even start with frame averaging and just the whole development process in general? Like, how long did it take you to get something working? What were the challenges, the successes, and the surprises from the whole process?
Yeah, okay. First, as I told you, I researched what's around there, what's coming close, where's the concept of long exposure on the iPhone. We know all it's only 1 second of real shutter speed you can achieve. So the other apps that there are around must do something about it. I've seen especially one, the most used one probably, and I tested a lot, and I did some pictures with a couple of seconds. It was okay. With a longer time, it was not so okay. And then I first needed to analyze what really frame averaging is, and basically it is pixel by pixel averaging over time. Yeah, and you have to decompose what happens. You have to set your expectations, what you are going to achieve, how you can validate what you achieved. Right? You're developing an algorithm to do it first on paper, just in theory, then bring it in. The problem is with this kind of stuff like image processing, you not just have an algorithm and a thesis and proof against it with some tests you can write in a system and let the system crunch numbers, and then it says, okay, yes, expectations met. No, you have to really go out. You have to process full images, so 12 million pixel, to see really the effect. And it takes a long time and a lot of trial and error. Some algorithms work, some not. Some work very slow. Some crash like you've experienced with stacking in Photoshop with huge amounts. It will crash over time. And it really took a long time until I even got close to results I didn't like, but were technically already frame averaged results.
So how long did that actually take you? Months, years?
So, a year, I would say. So. Yeah, at least a year. And then
wow.
I found something where it could work. It worked in theory. The result was okay for a couple of frames, but the processing time was way too long. And it took a while. And then I all of a sudden discovered how I could do all this stuff with RAW. And it was...
You just discovered it?
It was a lot of trial and error and understanding the physics behind what's happening, what's digital image capturing, what's involved in the process, where's the best point in the whole process to intercept and get the data you need for this stuff. I would say you should get it as early as possible in the process, because if you are too late, it's wasted time in processing. You're processing stuff you don't know and you don't need. And it took a while, and then all of a sudden I found it. And then there were really a big surprise. When I first have seen minutes-long exposure averaged with hundreds of images in the first stage, and seeing a raw image, the image quality was just mind-blowing. I've never seen an image of this quality out of an iPhone. So you all know the how a sky looks if you go close. Even with the lowest ISO on an iPhone, the sky is noisy.
Oh,
Even on the newest iPhones, it's still noisy. And then you see a frame averaged RAW having almost no noise, totally disappeared. And the level of detail you can reveal is just amazing. So at this stage, I was done. Okay, I decided, yes, I go for it. So it was the proof of concept. It took a long time to really get this proof of concept. Proof of concept development is hard. You don't know if the concept works or not, but before you are building a full app around it, you should have the core concept work. And this was achieved, I would say, almost 2 years after I started.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you persevered. Obviously, your work is it's definitely come to fruition, and myself and everyone watching, I'm sure, is very grateful that you stuck with it. I do, something came to mind though when you were speaking. I'm thinking about the raw, your frame averaging pixel by pixel, right? And it's in RAW. But I'm not sure if people are aware that what RAW files actually are. They're not what you see in Lightroom after you've captured them. Lightroom is doing stuff on top of the RAW file for you to be able to see it. Things like demosaicing and things like that. When it's actually when you're recording what the sensor is capturing, is that data actually that big? If that, just to ask you simply, like I would actually imagine that is the JPEG, if you're doing it in JPEG, and I'm just speculating here, I have no idea, literally, clearly, that might even be harder than a RAW, because you have to do all this other stuff after you've recorded the information. You know what I mean?
Basically, with JPEG, it's a smaller amount of data. Simply, so the number crunching.
But at the end, it's a smaller amount of data.
At the end,
but before that, you have to compress and you have to do all this.
Yeah, but basically, it's not the app that needs to compress. It comes out of the camera pipeline already compressed.
Right.
So you will receive, as the app receives something from the camera system of Apple, and this data received will be much smaller with a JPEG.
I see. So your app is like taking a back seat to the main pipeline.
Yeah.
Not your app, but the app that's. I see. Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm with it now.
As a camera app developer, you are deciding in which point in time you want to get what data from the camera system of Apple, which you do not control. You can do some settings on it, but you don't really control what happens behind the scenes. And then you will get, after the capture process is done, you will get just a data result, just a bunch of bits. And with JPEG, for sure, it's much smaller, and it takes not that longer than getting the RAW file, because the processing in the camera system of Apple itself, it's quite fast.
You wrote your own, you created your own pipeline for this as well, right? And you wrote your own algorithm, your own APIs and things like that. I know you're still using Apple's APIs for things like metering and focusing, probably. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
A lot of stuff I'm using is, of course, the original Apple APIs. But with image processing, you would use filter. Yeah, it's called CI filter, core image filters, and there are hundreds of predefined filters available. You can process images with, you can combine images, but there's nothing like do an average of 1,000 images. Nothing like this. It does not happen. Yeah, it's not available there. And there's this, for RAW files, there's nothing. You can't do anything about calculating stuff. Yeah, so I decided really to develop my own pipeline and going into every single bit of the file, of the data file I'm receiving.
Wow. So I do on my channel, we like detail, and maybe from speaking to me for the past 20 minutes, you can kind of gauge what level I'm at as to how to speak to me. So could you give me my version of like what the app is doing, like behind the scenes? I don't want you to give away what your code is, what your algorithm's doing and stuff, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hard without giving too much away. Yes, simply saying, I'm collecting raw data, and for every single frame the app receives, there are millions of calculations to be done. Every single frame. Yeah. So it's not only one calculation per pixel; it's a couple of calculations per pixel. So 12 million pixel, you can imagine what happens for every single frame.
Yeah.
And seeing the frame rate now up to more than 20 images per second on the most recent iPhones, you can imagine what this means in amount of data to be processed.
Absolutely. Yeah, even longer just runs so cool all the time. It's so cool. How are you able to get so efficient compared to the Photoshop method? Even Adobe make billions of pounds in revenue every year, yet, you know, they can only go 5 seconds. You're going for, I don't know how long, hours probably.
Yeah,
it's super cool. Like how is this possible?
It's limited just by one stupid setting I've done to 10 hours or so. But if you need to go longer, it would be possible. With most recent iPhones, probably 10 hours is not even the limit of the battery. Yeah? So if you
I've seen a few battery tests, and this 13 Pro Max is getting those sort of numbers. So, but that's 10 hours running, like watching 4K video, playing games and stuff, doing frame averaging. Maybe it could go even longer.
Yes.
So was the efficiency of it like a natural byproduct of what you've created, or did you purposely set out to make this thing needs to be
purposely set out? Yeah, because we are on a mobile device, and I wanted to capture for a long time, and I like to capture 10 minutes or so, and using the interim files, I can select if I like 2 minutes or 7 minutes or 10 minutes, because 10 minutes is oftentimes too long, making it boring again, the image. So I wanted to have the flexibility to shoot for 10 minutes. And this several times, of course. Yeah, I don't want to have just one 10-minute shot. I'm going out to shoot for hours. Going through a city and shoot really for hours. And it accumulates to total shooting time of really hours of frame averaging. And it did not make sense for me to create something that burns my battery. So I needed to be efficient. And you remember maybe the first release, there it was already pretty efficient from a battery life point of view, but with let's say half the image, half the frame rate we are at now. So it was okay, but now it's even better. But
even better, even longer is even better. Okay. Sorry, no more.
Yeah, sorry for the name, but it seems to play good.
It's stuck now. It's stuck, even though in my review I called it something you might take to increase your performance. That was a sex joke that I worded very carefully to get around YouTube's guidelines and things like that. Anyway, I need to start making jokes and take this more seriously. I know. You're being very, very professional, and I'm just being stupid. So,
okay, yeah, but basically, efficiency is one of the core, design priorities I've got. That's for sure.
No, absolutely, because like when I'm out shooting for a video, and you're right, I'm capturing for 5-10 minutes on multiple occasions. So 5 or 6 pictures, and I'm shooting for like an hour. So I need a podcast, I need Bluetooth going, I need 4G, I need all this and running as well at the same time. Even longer's running. So no, it's definitely great to that you've paid so much attention to that, the efficiency side of things. So I'm curious, after you build your app, you get it all working. It's taken you like 2 years. Then you have to put it on the App Store, and you become like a marketer. You have to let people know it exists, convince them to pay for it. Like, how do you approach that?
Yeah, first, the 2 years was the development of the core concept.
Okay.
It did not stop there. After 2 years, it was the moment in time to decide, okay, go for a full app, which will be usable. And at this stage, I still had to develop everything around this core pipeline concept to make it usable and to have a user interface, to have all the tools. I had to go out to shoot, test everything, not only from the technical point of view, but also from a photographer's point of view. What am I missing to achieve the results I want to achieve? Yeah, so I had to integrate a level, a histogram, magnification tool to support good focusing, and all this kind of stuff you need to develop. It's not lying around there, and I then have to find out how to create a histogram, live histogram. It's not something you would learn in school, and then you are struggling with a level. Building a level is not that difficult, and there are a lot of tutorials out there, but it did not work for me like I wanted to have it. It's just jumping all over the place, and it's very nervous, and does not support this real slow process in this long exposure. You're setting up really carefully, and you would not like to see a level tool which jumps around with something. And now you can see it's really a smooth level, so it's okay. But it takes all time. Every single feature needs to be developed, and as I told you, I'm on my own, and I'm not a professional developer, so I have to find out every single part on my own. Which API to use, what Apple is offering. I don't like to rely on third-party APIs and tools. So almost 100% of even longer is my own. There's only one exception where I'm using a third-party library, which is OpenSSL, which almost everybody uses for receipt validation. So then you have to develop the in-app purchasing process, blah, 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 all this stuff. It takes time. So basically, it took almost 1 more year to have a full app. Because I'm not full-time. I can do it only on weekends and evenings and vacations.
So after you've done all that, so not 2 years, 3 years, then how do you approach getting this out to people and having them use it and trying to reap the fruits of your labor?
Yeah, you probably remember I approached you and some other people, something around April, May or so, when the product was almost ready, not 100% ready, but I already included external testers to do some tests. And I selected some people, I researched some people who already were into long exposure, preferably with iPhone also, like you. And you had some videos and a good comparison video from the year before, if I remember right, where you compared all the long exposure possibilities you've got with the iPhone. Yeah, and therefore
please don't mention that video.
No. It was a good starting point, I guess.
That was very early for me. Don't go and watch that video.
Without this one, you probably would not have the even longer video.
That's true.
Yeah, so
I thank you for that. But
and I contacted but carefully selected people, not more than 20, I would say. Who really know what's long exposure is about. And I mean also real long exposure. I reference real long exposure to be able to capture minutes. Yeah, we all know the seconds you can do with the native camera app and the live photos, or the other app I would name the Spectre, which I use myself until today. If I need, or I want to shoot handheld long exposure, which is okay for a couple of seconds, like a waterfall or so, that's fine. I'm using it, yeah. But it is not what I mean with real long exposure. I like this cityscapes with moving clouds. These moving clouds you cannot achieve with a couple of seconds, except it's extremely stormy. Then maybe you can see some movement. But I like this stuff, and I wanted to create it with an iPhone. And I selected people who really know this, who are into shooting this kind of stuff. So they know what's the effort to get a result like I now can get from an iPhone. And I approached people with, I would say, with an interesting headline, which was raw long exposure on your iPhone, which at this time did not exist, for sure not. And even for most of the cameras out there, it simply does not exist in the frame averaging. Yeah? And then I did not tell a lot of about the app itself. I just referenced my Instagram feed, where I've shown a lot of the results. And this made it interesting for some people to have a look. Okay, this kind of results are possible with the iPhone now. Great. Let's have a look.
Yeah, how many people got back to you when you contacted them?
More than half of them. And I would not name a lot of them, but they are really, really experienced people. There are people out there shooting the phase 1. So they are really into it. They really know what to do with it. They are heavily invested in stuff to create this kind of content, and they were mostly blown away by what's possible with the iPhone, with this app. And feedback was great, absolutely great. There was nobody telling, that's crap. Only some of the really professionals who own these very, very expensive kits. Yeah, they're saying it's not for me. I don't get it. Why would you put an iPhone on tripod when you have to carry a tripod with you? You can carry a camera with you. Okay, maybe, maybe not. But it's not for everybody, for sure.
Yeah, so I want to ask you how some other people responded, but I will tell you from my point of view, and I'll tell the viewers from what happened from my point of view. So I get a lot of emails from people, and like, hey, dude, check out my calculator app. Why? So when I saw your email, I ignored it for the first day because I thought it was another one of these calculator app type emails. But then I actually opened it and I read it, and I went to your Instagram feed, and it was like, wow, this is phenomenal. So I was keen to check it out. And Mario very graciously offered to give me even longer for free, because, you know, in exchange for checking it out and making a video about it. Obviously, that's how these things work. But no, I like to support developers, folks. Obviously, now maybe you've heard Mario's story. This isn't his full-time thing. So, you know, developers have to put food on the table as well. Anyway, that's a different story. And then what happened? Then what happened after that? I don't remember. I called you. We had a long conversation because I was keen to get as much information as I could, because I like my videos so detailed, and I don't want to make any mistakes, especially with something like this. And I think it was definitely worth calling you, doing the extra research. But what did other people do? Did they make videos like I did? Did they write articles, things like that?
No, except one.
Oh, okay.
Except
so they just
one,
said, "Oh, it's great," and
they came back with a lot of feedback, but maybe for some of these people, it's too early to fully commit to recommend it completely, because there are people around with huge standing within the industry, so they I'm getting some good feedback from them, and even feedback like okay, I've showed it to Apple camera developers, so really the Apple engineers, and they like it. Okay, yeah. So this kind of people would not yet commit to really recommend it, but they can provide valuable feedback. And
I see.
Yeah, they're liking it, but they're hesitant to really recommend it. Maybe.
Yeah,
later,
I thought when you said, yeah, let's see. I'll be curious to see what happens now that you told me that you showed it to Apple engineers. When you said you showed it to other people,
I could not show it to Apple engineers, but
okay.
one of my contacts, I've shown it and I'm getting feedback from. So he showed it to Apple engineers, and yeah, they thought it was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, like you never know. I've said this a few times now, like you never know who's aware of what you're doing. I spoke to Lawrence Bouchard on my last episode, a photographer, and Apple contacted him. Maybe not Apple themselves, but a marketing company working for Apple contacted him on Instagram and Flickr after checking out his photography, So like, I'm always curious who's actually aware of what's going on and things like that. But when you said you contacted other people, I thought you meant like other YouTubers were included in that as well, or did you contact other YouTubers as well?
Yes, some. Most did not come back to me. One other guy did come back, but did not yet make a video, which is fine. It's okay, but provided some feedback, which is totally okay. And the other one who really got into closer contact with me was from Kelby One. Do you know Kelby One?
Yeah, Scott Kelby, right?
Scott Kelby, and it was not Scott, but Eric Kuna, who is the vice president there, and he's they call him the Rocket Man. He's shooting for SpaceX and all this kind of stuff, but really a good guy. And he tested the app and used it a lot, provided a lot of feedback. And Kelby One had an iPhone conference. The iPhone photography conference was an online conference only at the moment. With I would say probably more than 1,000 attendees. So 2 days full of courses, and they paid roughly $100 for attendance. So it was a nice audience. And Eric showed off even longer there because he believes it's at least at the moment the best long exposure app out there. And this kind of stuff, of course, is very nice. It makes really a huge difference. And it was like a kickstart, yeah. So the app started at the end of May, end of June. This conference happened. Your first video was out mid of June or so, maybe, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly. Somewhere around there.
Yeah, and 2 weeks after you, Shani was catching up. Yeah, based on your video. So thanks for that.
Yeah, it's okay.
and I really appreciate it. And you called me. And you called my marketing department, which is kind of true, at least for a period of time. And you helped me to get a kickstart. Yeah, thanks for that. it was really good. I can really see in sales figures when a new good video goes online.
No, it's not my intention to market you. You market yourself. I just let people know what you can do. And for me, the app sells itself. I remember initially a lot of people got it. Like I got it immediately. I thought it was fantastic. But some people were like, well, there was mainly just one. Why would I pay $5.99 or whatever for even longer when slow shutter cam's $1.99? I'm like, it's not the same thing whatsoever. Like, you're just missing the point here completely. But I feel now that those sort of issues, at least from my perception, have kind of disappeared. Is that right? Because it's a very active community from what I see.
Yes,
I follow you on Instagram, and you're constantly sharing different photographers' work, and I love it. I've discovered so many photographers, and I'm inspired by them and what you're sharing. So, are you pleased with that side of things?
Yes, it's actually the most rewarding part of it, to see what other creatives can create with the app. It's not an app to consume content. Also, it's to create, and seeing what talented people can do with it. Oftentimes, I even could not do it because I'm not that creative, probably. But it's really, really nice, and it's well recognized already. And most of people really, really like what I'm doing. And there are some complaints out there about the pricing, but that's okay for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mainly today, the most complaints are about, why do I have to pay a premium after I already purchased the app? Yeah, but it's very simple. Yeah, with purchasing the app, you get all you need to get into long exposure, real long exposure, get great results already. Only limited to JPEG and missing some features like parallel bracketing or interim files, which makes life easier. And of course, you are missing the RAW, but RAW is not for everybody. Yeah? A lot of people using DSLRs even don't know how to shoot RAW and why to shoot. And RAW can confuse people. I've got some support requests. Hey, why is this image looking like it is in RAW? Why it's not looking like the JPEG from Apple? Yeah, it's because not everybody understands what RAW is intended to do. It gives you all the freedom to do development later. You need to have post-production. Yeah, it's without post-processing a RAW image, where's the point in shooting RAW? So that's mainly the point that people sometimes don't get it, don't get why they should pay additionally. Yeah, but I'm fine with it. And I really,
and then they rate you 1 star.
Yes, that happens sometimes, and due to stupid rules of the App Store, people can really they are buying the app, rating it with 1 star because it's too expensive, which is ridiculous because you know the price in advance, and you have to pay extra for RAW. It's clearly stated there. Yeah, what's the point? And Apple even allows these stupid ratings while refunding these people.
Sometimes they're not even buying it; they just see the price and click 1 star. It's
stupid, I guess right? Without downloading the app, you can't rate the app.
Oh, can you not?
No, but this kind of problem is. If you are going the freemium way, like Halide, for instance, does, so free download with and then a subscription afterwards. They initially don't pay anything, can wait, and then it's gone. So I decided to not go for free, no free tier at all. and Highlight has no free. It's just a free trial. Yeah, so and it's okay and totally okay to do it. And if it comes to pricing of a camera app specifically, you have to keep in mind that a camera app can only be developed with testing on real devices. You have to have the devices around. You have to buy all the devices which come every year to test it on the new devices. That's kind of expensive.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying before about supporting developers and things like that.
Yeah, and
but I didn't realize you had to test on the actual device.
Yeah, how can you get a frame averaged picture of 7 minutes, let's say, without having a device? That's possible.
No, it's a good point. Yeah. I thought maybe you tick a little checkbox, iPhone 7, simulate.
Yeah, you can simulate a lot, but not the camera. And that's true for all the camera apps out there. And it's simply not logical to expect from a one-time payment of a couple of bucks, a beer or a cup of coffee, and expect lifetime support for every new iPhone you buy. Yeah, and people expect, of course, if they buy it, they expect when they buy the next iPhone that the camera app works again. But it's not granted.
I have a solution for you, and I think you're going to like this. You're very welcome to it, by the way. My data must be pretty valuable, right? I mean, my browsing history, I mean, come on, that's got to be worth £1,000 a year, right? So why don't you just give the app away for free? Just take my data and sell it. I mean...
I don't like selling data, but however, what's the value of data of people who don't want to buy anything? So just try.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
I don't get people who think, I pay with my data and I don't spend any money, but data are only valuable if there's money behind it. Buying intentions are behind it. So if I would sell data of my pro members, that's okay. That could be
maybe,
a deal. Yeah. But for sure. It's
at this point,
stupid.
They try and get a refund on the data.
Yeah. But
can you imagine? This guy's data is useless. Take it back. I don't want it. No, Mario and I are just joking about a couple of comments that he got about this sort of issue. Go back, you'll see. Go and watch my review of Even Longer, and you will see the sort of comments that we're talking about. Just on that, before I wrap up, and ask a couple of audience questions. What did you think of my review, by the way? I'm curious. Did you enjoy it?
Yes, for sure. It helps a lot, and your reviews are, critical. So you are criticizing, which is good, which is makes it more valuable and more trustable to people. And I most of the time I listen also to you, of course, because it's part of the feedback process. Yeah, and if you're still with all your criticism, you're still recommending the app, that's fine. So there's room for improvement.
I don't think I criticized it.
Yeah, sometimes.
I thought I just gushed over the fact that it was raw long exposure and noise reduction, and I got to tell stories about the history of photography. I don't think I said anything bad in that review, to be honest. Maybe in the light trails one.
Maybe it was a different video, but it's fair enough. So, I'm really happy to hear this honest opinions. So it's good. And if you see something I didn't see, it's good for me to get it recognized.
Yeah.
And sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't necessarily, but okay. Especially there was one point where where a lot of people don't agree with me, but for the moment, I leave it like it is.
Is this the manual controls with the lock?
The manual controls, yes. For sure. I see room for improvement. We just based on one comment in your announcement of this interview, I have seen an issue with the manual lock at the moment, which is really, really bad one.
I'm just looking up those questions now. Yeah, the manual lock is something I never use. I don't know, and I'm planning a tutorial for even longer, by the way, so I need to learn how to use it. I don't know how to use it. I don't know what it does. I just ignore it, and I've never used it once in my whole time using even longer.
Okay, in theory, it is fairly simple. Yeah, you go to the exposure compensation. You see your histogram. And you can lock this exposure. When pressing the lock button, it's just locking and going to all manual. Not all manual like you would expect it. Yeah, but all manual, I would say the even longer way. So locking it locks a starting point of your manual exposure. What you would do with a normal camera, when you are switching to manual, with some cameras you can use the starting point what was metered before, and then go manual from there.
I think I get it now, because sometimes I'll set my exposure with the compensation, and then I'll press the shutter, and Eva Longa will take another exposure reading after that. So this prevents that. Yes, it prevents this change, but for the moment there's an issue. Maybe I can demonstrate in a minute with the preview. But in general, as soon as you are switching to the exposure lock and therefore manual, you still have plus minus one stop or plus minus a third of a stop, which are used from DSLR shooting. And the desire to have full manual control to set ISO and the shutter speed separately comes from your experience as more professional photographer. I do it myself when I'm shooting DSLR as well, for sure. But here, with this special niche app, we've got already some knowledge what you are intending to do. So we all know our exposure triangle. So ISO, f-stop, and shutter speed. The f-stop is not relevant because you cannot change it on your iPhone, on any camera, at least until now. So this one is out of the equation. So you've got only the ISO and the shutter speed to play with. Okay? So in normal photography, you are setting it based on what you are going to shoot. With long exposure, it's pretty clear that you are going for the longest possible shutter speed on the iPhone, which is limited to a second. So you're going for the longest. And if you reach the longest, the only parameter you can play with is ISO. Yeah. If you reach the lowest ISO, which is desirable as well, the only parameter you can play with is the shutter speed. So even longer, if you want to have the image one stop darker than the current reading, even longer knows what to set the ISO and the shutter speeds to. There are no true interpretations of it. Yeah, therefore, I don't see the need. To individually set ISO and shutter speed, which is two parameters to set, when it's enough to just say one stop, two stops darker or lighter. I mean, with motion blur, I agree. I've never needed or wanted manual controls. You're right. Eva Longa does set the ISO as low as it possibly can. But with the light trails, I've seen these, let's just fake, for lack of a better word, these fake light trails, they need all the help they can get from real light trails. And sometimes when you try and shoot in an environment that has like ambient light from a city, Evolonga is trying to compensate for it by increasing the shutter speed, which creates that Morse code effect, as I say. And in that situation, I would like to say, no, don't compensate. Just I'm going to set my shutter speed myself. That's where
you can go to the log. Just go to the log, and you see the ISO and shutter speed, and go in the direction you need. The physics behind is the same. It's still long exposure. So we are trying to get the longest possible exposure, the longest shutter speed. Yeah. So you need to get to a second or half a second. With, I would say, below half a second, you will always see this Morse code effect. Yeah. Even with half a second, it's not good. You need to go to a second for sure. And if it's too bright, it's too bright. It simply does not work. No. But go try to lock the exposure and then go in the direction you need. Yeah.
I will try the lock, and then I'll get back to you.
But the lock has one drawback at the moment, which is probably due to some iOS 15 issue.
Yeah, let's get into that now because I have the questions up. Do you want to address that person's question? It was, what was his name? Steve Morris, I think it was.
Yes.
So I'll read out the question.
Yeah, that would be nice.
App started off brilliantly, but now it really struggles with exposure. Shadows way too dark and unrecoverable, even in RAW, and highlights frequently blown out. The exposure compensation is all over the place and makes no real difference. I am using the 12 Pro Max. Is there an issue with this model? 3 question marks. He really wants to know.
So you don't see it now, but what I'm going to do is to show off the problem. The problem basically is that with exposure compensation, we are trying to adjust exposure based on the preview. And also the histogram is based on the preview stream, which Apple Camera System provides to the app. So what happens now when you are switching to manual control, the preview no longer respects the full manual control settings, but instead compensates. So you are going darker, let's say you are going 2 stops darker, and the preview does not show 2 stops. It may show half a stop or so darker, but not 2 stops. But the final capture will be 2 stops darker, which is really a problem because you are no longer able to work with manual controls at the moment. That's
this is
a really severe issue.
iOS 15 thing.
I would say it's iOS 15, and I would not show it with even longer, but I would use the manual control of Halide for it to demonstrate it. Yeah, it's just demonstration to see the effect. That it's basically the same. I tried it with Reflex as well. It's all the same. So we are all suffering from this manual control issue. So I'm just starting the Halide app. I've got my histogram visible and will change now to manual control. I'm starting out with ISO 200 or so. So I'll go down to ISO 50, I would say. Yeah. So I would expect the picture to be 2 stops darker, but the histogram did not change a lot, and the preview did not change a lot. And I'm taking a picture now and see a picture which is 2 stops darker.
Interesting. I haven't seen this myself personally. I've been shooting a lot over the past few days, like 500 photos over the past few days, and in different apps. Personally, I
Did you use full manual control?
Oh yeah, always.
Or just
for
exposure compensation or full manual?
I never use exposure compensation for RAW, and it's been fine for me. I don't pay attention to the preview ever when I'm shooting in RAW. I always pay attention to the exposure guide and things like that. The histogram and
but the problem is that histogram is based on preview, typically.
Yeah,
and you may be fine if you are only compensating, let's say half a stop or one stop should not be that big of a difference. With RAW, you can recover, no issue. But just try to. I sent you the video, the screen recording later. Just try to do it. With,
thanks.
Let's say compensate minus 2 or 3 steps. 3 stops minus will give real dark image, and you don't see it in the preview. It's the same with the opposite direction to going up, and this leads really to being underexposed, overexposed all over the time, because you've got no control. Yeah, you're trying to control the system, but you cannot, because you've got no feedback.
Interesting. I haven't seen this. I will definitely pay more attention to this. Maybe I just know what settings to use because I shoot so often. I just don't even.
Yes, probably. Okay, so, in this case, full manual control without any preview would help.
Yeah, I will get back to you on this, and hopefully that answers your question, Mr. Steve Morris. And next, I want to ask you, Dale Lotherington says, "This is awesome," with a smiley face. "I'd love to learn the best way he suggests to use parallel bracketing in the app to get the best results. Pro member forever and love the amazing shots this app allows for." So, what's the best way to use parallel bracketing?
Okay, thanks for the question first. Yeah, parallel bracketing I really only use in very, very high contrast scenes like sunset over the sea also, or sunrise, which is the same, where you have to deal with huge dynamic range. With all the other stuff, you are just fine with shooting RAW, to my mind, and recover some highlights, recover some shadows, and you're done. But in the extremes, during sunset also, you just, to my mind, should go for a difference of at least 2 stops to really benefit for it. For bracketing with RAW for 1 stop, for me, isn't worth it. Yeah, because you are trading in some of the frame rate. Yeah, during daylight, I told you the maximum frame rate is about 20 frames per second. With the same camera, you will go down to roughly 4 to 5 frames per second when bracketing. But if you are in high contrast scenes, go for 2 or 3 stops of difference. No matter which direction. First set your base. Choose one as a base. The highlights or the shadows. I tend to go for the highlights. Yeah, to expose for the sky in this case, and then bracket for 3 stops plus to get the shadows managed. And this will give a huge range with 3 stops of difference. You've got a dynamic range extent of 3 stops basically, which should be enough. So 10 stops of the iPhone, the physical 10 stops we know about or hear about, will be extended to 13 stops, which is very, very good.
Absolutely. No, I do the exact same thing as you. I think it just comes down to experience as well. Being able to, again, use the exposure guides if they're not broken with iOS 15, and
yes,
use your experience as a photographer, and you can also take a little test shot at 3 seconds to see what you can do with
yes.
with the exposure.
For sure, the test shot of 3 seconds is basically it's recommended for a lot of situations before investing a lot of time for longer exposures. And maybe that's the only announcement of today. I'm still working on on providing a test shot, simple test shot functionality to just not have to change the total exposure time a lot. If you're aiming for an hour or so, it takes a lot of clicks to switch back and forth. I will implement a test shot feature as well. Will be probably the next one I'm doing. And this one could help for the current issue of the missing preview as well.
Oh, cool. So there you go, folks. So first we've got an Android build, a Windows build, and then test shot feature. So we've got Mike James from Smartphone Photography Training says, this is going to be good. Can't wait. I fully agree with you, Mike. My sitter says, hello. Would it be possible to have a recap table depending on the options selected? Example, what would be the best time, exposure, and interval for, let's say, a star trail, light trail, long exposure? I think it would be a good. I think it would be a great guide for all users of the app. So it's like an exposure guide. It's asking for. My sitter is asking for here.
Yeah. In general, there are some best practices which we could provide. To be honest, I did not have time to bring it together and put it on a web page as a recommendation. But in short, waterfalls or so, a couple of seconds, 20 seconds or so will do mostly. For clouds movement, a good starting point is going just frame averaging for 2 to 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you are going with the pro membership, be sure to have interims set, which really improves learning. What's the sweet spot? So I tend to just set 10 minutes of total exposure and save every half a minute. So for clouds movement, half a minute makes a difference. 15 seconds, not so much. No. And having 20 images to select from at the end is pretty good. Even for experienced people, you really don't know if the 2.5 minutes one is the best one, or the 7 minutes one of the same scene could be interesting as well. Sometimes you can use both. Yeah? You simply don't know. As you're getting more experienced, you probably know if it is 2.5 or if it is 7. Yeah, but maybe both are interesting. And
exactly.
In the past, when going for really long exposures, which is fun and gets really smooth and calm scenes. It looks nice, but you can overdo it. And there's nothing worse than shooting for 10 minutes and realizing, oh, it's boring now. And would I have gone for 7 minutes instead? And you can't repeat it because the light changed already, the clouds changed. So go for the interims and learn about it. And even if you are experienced, still use it. It's just making it easier to have a choice.
Yeah, I use interims all the time.
Yeah, that's for me the most practical feature. And by the way, even the most expensive camera does not support this kind of stuff. Yeah. So same with parallel bracketing. The phase one does not do it as of now. Maybe
as of now, yeah.
Opposite, yeah.
And when it can, it'll cost €70,000.
Maybe. I don't know if they are considering it, but I know for sure they are aware of even longer. So maybe they will do similar things in the future. So if you come to other stuff like Star Trails, probably Shani is more experienced than me, but I would say the trails will start to look interesting not before half an hour or so. With my limited experience in Star Trails, I find 40 minutes a good starting point, but going to 3 hours or so, 2 or 3 hours, is very nice as well. It's very long, good Star Trails. And for Star Trails, it's unfortunately I cannot share my screen now to show some tricks for Star Trails. With star photography in general, you need to find your focus point, which is crucial to really have pinpoint sharp stars. And that's not very easy in the dark environment. And in the past, the traditional photography with DSLRs, you would have oftentimes a manual lens to do this kind of stuff and focus beyond the infinity mark and find some point with just testing around. And experienced photographers into astrophotography, they're marking the star focus point for every lens because it differs from lens to lens. But for one lens, when you found the best point, in traditional lenses, you've got your infinity mark, and there is still a way to go beyond infinity, typically. And somewhere in between the real physical end and the infinity mark, you will find the point where your lens, this particular lens, is the sharpest. And this will not change. It can change by temperature a bit, but not too much. And in general, you could mark it. So I introduced the same concept in even longer for Star Trails. When you found your focus point in Star Trails mode, so in dark mode, you are using the magnification, go on one star, and then focus. It will take a time. Manually adjust, there is no slider in this mode. You just want a bit to more distance or closer. Yeah. And you have to wait. You have to be very patient. You have to wait for a second or so, because within this dark environments, we've got the shutter speed, even for preview, of 1 second. So setting the exposure, setting the focus point will take a second. The exposure itself will take a second. So be patient to see a result. Yeah, if it still improves, go in the same direction with small increments. And once you found the sweet spot for a particular camera, so it's not a lens, it's a camera on the iPhone, you can hit the save button. And all the time you are entering this camera in Star Trails mode, you will get to this exact focus point. So basically, when you are doing Star Trails very often, for every single lens you are using, so maximum 3, find your focus point once and save it. And this saving will carry over all the shots, and you no longer need to care about getting the focus right. It will be always on the same spot. So that's one very important stuff.
Yeah, no, some great points. Absolutely, there. That's very, very thorough answer. I don't think my sitter could ask for better. And what you were saying about how the app switches to 1 second by default in Star Trails was someone asked about that, but it was answered very well by the person in the community saying, yeah, Star Trails mode does automatically change to 1 second. But what you can do, maybe a not so well-known feature, is if you double tap FA, you can jump over Star Trails, which is like this little ingenious little hack or Easter egg, if you like, in even longer to get to your light trails. No, very cool. Christopher Clayton, any plans for manual controls for ISO and shutter? He's already answered that. I'm still going to try. I'm going to try this lock thing. I'm still not so sure, but let's see how it goes.
Yeah. But maybe we will have in the future, but not very soon, some more manual control. Yeah. So.
Mm-hmm.
For the moment, there's happening a lot behind the scenes. You cannot influence. Most people would not even recognize. For instance, the frame rate goes down if you are shooting for very long.
Yeah. No,
so
that's true.
If you are shooting your waterfall for an hour or so, you will not get 20 frames per second because it simply does not make any sense.
There's no point, is there? It's, again, little clever things like that Even Longer is doing that people don't maybe not realize. I'm going to leave the viewer questions there. There was one more from Greg McMillan. Greg is just some old guy who hangs around, and he wants
even
to know.
Older than me, probably.
oh, he's much older than you. Greg still calculates his exposure by candlelight. So he wants to know, what's the longest long exposure that you've ever captured with Even Longer?
Technically, so just for testing of the procedure and battery life, what different phones can hold, it was really 6 hours.
Wow. And what did that look like? Was it decent or?
It was still decent, but it was still seen in my office.
Okay.
No, because I did not find any use case for me to capture for 6 hours. You could do it on a crowded place in some cities, but you probably would need to have a hotel room with a window facing the big place, and then you could try to shoot for hours. Maybe I can do it in my hometown Magdeburg. We've got a hotel on one of the big places of the city. One could try, but I don't know if it's worth. But technically, it works. It's still if the tripod, if the tripod is really sturdy enough, and or also the phone clamp or whatever you are using is really good enough to hold over hours exactly without moving just a millimeter.
Yeah, someone we should do that as a challenge somehow. Who can take the longest exposure? The winner gets something. I don't know, but I will think about that. But I have no other video ideas. You'll see that video pop up, and you know I'm stuck creatively. So that's everything that I have for now. I could, in all honesty, I could delve deeper into lots of stuff that you said, but we would be here all night. And you know, you're a very busy guy, making Even Longer and doing something else that sounds too complicated for me to understand. It's full time anyway. And so I'm going to leave it there. Do you have anything else that you want to say before we go?
Yeah, just thank you for having me again. We had some chats already before, and it's really nice to see how the work is recognized. And and thanks again for you personally for giving me a kickstart. Back in the days, it really helped out a lot. So, and thanks to the community. And please share all your images on Instagram using the hashtags Even Longer app or Shot with Even Longer. It's really nice to see, and it's really rewarding.
And that was my conversation with Mario Tomiak. As he says, go follow him on Instagram. You will not regret it. He doesn't post himself that often, but he shares a ton of different creators, things that they've captured with even longer, things that I wouldn't even, compositions that I wouldn't even have even considered trying to do with even longer and things like that. I've discovered so many photographers through that, as I said in our conversation. So I really enjoyed that. I learned a lot, and like if I was like Joe Rogan going for 3 hours, I would dive deeper into certain things. But I'm not, and Mario's a busy guy, so I don't want to keep him for too long. So certain points we have to move on, but maybe in a few months' time, Mario can come back on and we can pick up where we left off and fill in the blanks. So there is one thing Mario mentioned after we stopped recording, and it was the fact that you can tap and hold on the grid and you get a different grid. You see that? So you get the golden ratio, as well as some other more hectic grid, and you get the rule of thirds as well. So that's pretty cool. And he also mentioned about the issue with the red images. Again, that is something that I don't want to paraphrase Mario and get it wrong, but he is aware of it, and he's always when he can, as you know now, he has a full-time job. Even longer is his weekend and his evening job, so he may not be able to fix issues immediately, but he is very well aware of them. In case you didn't realize from the show, the guy's a perfectionist. Trust me, from the conversations we've had behind the scenes, he is a perfectionist. He wants to know if everything is right. So he's definitely aware of the issue with the images going red occasionally and things like that. So I will end it there. I will get off. It's been my longest show yet, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I just so appreciative of people who are willing to give their time for me, for you, share their expertise, help me learn. I do want to get more developers on the show and just learn from them. And as my knowledge grows, hopefully I can ask some better, more technical, more detailed questions and things like that. And yeah, we can just explore and learn from them together from there. So hope you enjoyed it, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And I don't know how this is working on Apple Podcasts. You can't comment on Apple Podcasts. Leave me a review. Yeah, do that. Leave me a review, please, on Apple Podcasts if you're listening. 5 stars. Leave me a 5-star review. Let's get this show, the highest rated show on Apple Podcasts, in the iPhone photography section. Are there any others? I don't even know. I'm just so busy making videos at the moment. I haven't even had a chance to listen to podcasts or anything like that. I'm just cranking, as you will see. Head over to my YouTube channel, David Addison. Just search David Addison, and my face will pop up in an orange in an orange coat. And that's my YouTube channel. If you're not aware, check out these videos of which I speak. And I will let you go now. Take care, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.